The September 5th meeting of the East Long Meadow Planning Board. And I have to mention that under Mass General Law, Chapter 30A, Section 20, we are recording this for minutes, and we're also recording it on video for LCAT. I need to ask if anyone else here is recording the meeting. Hearing none, that's fine, thank you. First item on the agenda at 6 o'clock is a public hearing on a proposed marijuana zoning bylaw. And copies of this are available if anyone wants them. We're going to waive the reading because it's a page and a half. Take it to the board first. Does anyone have any comments?
Read this to us?
Yeah, read that. Sorry.
The planning board, the Planning and Community Development Department of the Town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on September 5th, 2017 at 6 o'clock in the training room at the fire station, 150 Summers Road, to amend the East Long Meadow zoning bylaw, 1991 revision to add a recreational marijuana bylaw in order to prevent retail sales in town. The proposed amendment is available for review by the public at the offices of the Planning and Community Development, Town Clerk, Town Manager's Office.
Okay. Bring it to the board. Anyone have any questions or comments on this?
I do.
Please.
So it's actually more than just retail. It's actually excluding the manufacturer, distribution, so forth and so on.
Right.
So I guess, I did a little research on this. So in the 2016 state election, this question was on East Long Meadow ballot, as it was in every community. And there were 4,935 no's in East Long Meadow, 4,222 yeses. So it was approximately 54-46. It then was placed, a form of it was placed on the annual election in East Long Meadow in 2017. And the yes vote was 1468 to prohibit, 440 no's, which subsequently would allow it.
Right.
Unfortunately, the town health department made a major error, or in their words, a mistake. They had sent out some materials to all the voters in town advocating that it not pass.
Okay.
I questioned them on it, and the health agent said, yes, we made a mistake doing that, because essentially they used town resources to do that. So in my opinion, I just tossed those results out the window as meaning nothing, because there were only 1,926 people who voted on that versus the over 9,000 that did it. So I don't see that there's an overwhelming yes to pass a prohibition on this, that nearly 46% of the residents in East Long Meadow voted in favor of it. If there seems to be a major feeling against the retail sales, that when we start the process of voting yes or no, I will seek to amend it by essentially leaving in the marijuana cultivation, the marijuana testing, and the marijuana product manufacturing. There are many vacant industrial buildings in town that could be used for this type of activity and still not have the retail component, if that's people's wishes. I don't think we should foreclose the ability for one of those manufacturing facilities to be used for manufacturing purposes. So I'm just kind of putting that out there so that when we get to that point, you'll know what my feelings are. Thank you.
Anyone else have any comments?
Kind of going along with what Russ said, you've got 54% that were in favor of this. However, the way the bylaw is written, it's impossible to do anything with it in this town. So you kind of ask yourself, what happens to those 54% of the voters that wanted to go forward with marijuana?
46%.
46%.
Yeah.
46.
Yes.
Well, I got it backwards, I'm sorry.
Yeah. My feeling is that there will be retail available within a reasonable distance in the town. But any other comments from the board first?
Yes,
Well, go ahead, Deb. No, you go, Deb.
my feeling is that we need to back our constituents. I realize it's not a vast majority, however, it is a majority. And to mimic what George said, there will be adjacent towns, not Wilbraham. And within 2 miles in any circular direction, any circumference. So I would like to back our constituents and move forward.
Lou?
I agree with Deb. I think the will of the voters is a no, so I'm going to go with Deb. I agree with her.
I am leaning the same way. I would say that if we do accept the amendment that is going to be made as to allowing cultivation in town, that we ought to echo the language of the medical marijuana law in terms of location, so that we're not locating this next to schools or churches, which is entirely possible. There's a lot of schools in the industrial garden park. And so we need to be cognizant of that.
Sure.
Okay, I'll open up to the floor. If anyone has any comments that they would like to make or ask any questions about the marijuana law. Hearing none, I'll take it back to the board. Any, do you want to make your
Okay.
motion before we close the hearing so we can discuss it?
Okay. So I guess I would amend the proposal at 3.01 prohibited uses, general use G, and I'll just make it easy. I would leave in marijuana cultivation, marijuana testing, marijuana product manufacturing, and then under the definitions section, I would delete manufacturing, marijuana cultivation, marijuana product manufacturing, marijuana products, and marijuana testing facilities, and I would certainly accept the friendly amendment to echo the medical marijuana placement language to reflect the same.
So you actually want to take those out of G, which is a prohibited use. You want to take testing, manufacture, and cultivation out of the 301G.
Can I see that for a minute?
Sure.
Our computers at work went down and I couldn't put that.
301G is a prohibited use.
Would you mind passing me a copy? Tide, would you mind passing me a copy of the bylaw? Thank you.
Well, help me on how I want to word this, George.
I think what you're
Okay.
asking for is under prohibited uses, general uses, medical, recreational marijuana, including, and only have marijuana retailers or other types of licensed marijuana-related businesses.
Thank you.
So that's your amendment.
Yep.
Okay, any discussion on this? Personally, I would be opposed to that, but that's my own feeling.
I would as well.
Okay. We have a motion on the floor. Do I have a second?
Second?
Okay. All those in favor of the amendment?
Aye.
All those opposed?
Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so that does not carry.
Okay, thank you.
Do you have a motion to close the public hearing at this point?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
Further discussion? Hearing none. All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. Do I have a motion to send the proposed bylaw to the town council as printed?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay.
Opposed.
Okay, so it's 4-1
Okay.
in favor of the bylaw as written. Okay, that's good. We have a little time. Let's take our first waiver for Abby's Vegetables. Someone here to speak to that?
Sure. Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is William E. Melbeer. Owner's address is 299 Maple Street. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Abby's Vegetables. Owner of business is Abby Kempton. Business owner's address is 4 Cypress Road, Holyoke, Mass. Property address is 299 Maple Street. Property district is B business. Allowed use is no. Proposed hours is noon to 8 p.m. Number of employees including owner is 1. Date of last parking plan is unknown. Summary of businesses sell fresh vegetables from Hadley, Mass. The application's been signed and dated August 4th, 2017.
Okay. If you want to come up and speak, please do, or do you want us to just talk about this? Okay, I mean, it's very clear under section 3.020 and 3.010 of the schedule of use regulations that farm stands are required that 90% of the product be raised or produced on the premises. And other than that, retail in residential areas is not permitted. So this proposal is not an allowed use in my view.
I would concur with George.
I mean, this is nothing personal, it's just that this is not an allowed use under our bylaw. The vegetables are not being raised on the property, and therefore it's not appropriate. My concern is that we do have farm stands that are operating within the law in town, and that this is, in some senses, unfair competition because they're paying taxes on the land. And again, this is just something that's coming in from outside. So I'm afraid I would recommend that we vote against this.
I would agree with George from everything that I've read on the allowed use in a business B, residential B district. I would absolutely mimic everything that George just said.
So,
Unfortunately, you know, it is part of, I'm sure, your livelihoods. So we do apologize, but we're here to uphold.
okay, do I have a motion to approve the site plan?
So moved.
The waiver of site plan. Do I have a second?
Second.
Okay, all those in favor of approving it? All those opposed? Nay.
Nay.
Okay, so that one is not approved. Sorry. What's the next one we have? We still have a few minutes.
Power clean.
Request for waiver of site plan. Property owner is Gary McMahon. Owner's address is 10. What this is? I can't read the writing here.
Anyway, it's in Florida.
I thought it says Connecticut here.
No, it's circuit.
Okay. All right. Name and proposed business is Power Clean Fitness Shaker Bar. Owner of business is Michael Zolakowski. Business owner's address is 488 Turnpike Road, Somers, Connecticut. Property address is 45 Baldwin Street, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property district is industrial, allowed use, yes. Proposed hours of operation are Monday through Friday, 5 a.m. to 10 p.m., Saturday and Sunday, 7 a.m. to 4 p.m. Number of employees including owner is 25. Date of last parking plan is 1 year ago. Summary business operation is Power Clean Fitness will be adding a protein shake bar that was not part of the original plan for the gym. The application was signed and dated August 19th and August 31st, 2017.
Okay. So any discussion on this one? They're basically adding a juice bar so that their patrons can rehydrate. Okay, but I'm glad they came in and filed for it rather than just doing it. So do I have a motion to approve the waiver?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Opposed? Okay, that one passes. Okay, we're kind of on 6:15, so we'll wait and then 30 seconds and then open the hearing on this one. Does anybody need a copy of this? Okay.
You ready?
Yeah, we can start.
Okay.
6:15.
East Long Meadow Planning Community Development Department public hearing. The Planning and Community Development Department of the Town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on September 5th, 2017 at 6:15 in the training room at the fire station, 150 Summers Road, on petition of the Office of Fitzgerald Attorneys at Law to amend the East Long Meadow zoning bylaw 1991 revision pursuant to MGL Chapter 40A by adding mixed-use overlay district. The purpose of the mixed-use overlay district are to revitalize struggling areas and spur economic development, to promote a village-style mix of retail, restaurants, offices, civic uses, and providing more housing opportunities and choices, to promote pedestrian and bicycle travel and a sense of community, to encourage economic development and increasing revenues. The public is invited to attend and participate in this hearing. Copies of the bylaw written in this entirely are on file in the clerk's office and office of planning board for viewing by the public between the hours of 8 a.m. and 4 p.m.
We do have copies of the proposed bylaw if anyone would like to have one, because we're going to waive the reading because it's like 4 pages. Okay. Yes.
Well done.
Donnie, you have a copy? Mr. Page?
He'll take both, I'm sure. Oh, yes.
Okay. So what's being proposed in summary is a mixed-use overlay district allowable in the Industrial Garden Park area of town, zone of town. And this would be a district in which you can have both retail, commercial, and residential properties. It would also be a district in which you could have multifamily dwellings. So the residential would be multifamily, correct? Yeah.
Yes.
Okay, I think we, and ideally it will only be for the Industrial Garden Park, and the intention is to reuse some of the properties there that are not, we haven't been able to find somebody to go with an industry there, and we would like to see some of those properties, particularly the one on Chestnut Street, redeveloped. I've read through this in detail. It needs to be, the wording needs to be worked on. Among other things, we need to create a new column in table 3.1, which is the use table of uses. And we need to create a place for this in table 3.2, which is the dimensional, where we should put the dimensional things rather than than have it listed the way it is here. A couple of other thoughts I had personally before I turn it over to the rest of the board is that this should go into section 5.2A. We should need to create a new section. Section 5.2 is the business, planned business use zone. This being related to that should be 5.2A, just as we have a 5.3A for some of the housing. And the numbering should be that way. We need to add a definition at the front, and the only other area that I had a concern over was the relationship to special permits. What's been proposed is strictly two types of special permit that would be required, the massage therapy and restaurants. I would like to rewrite that so it says all uses requiring special permits in commercial, business, or residential zones, including but not limited to massage therapists, restaurants, and gas stations with convenience stores. That way, if we have a new special permit requirement in the future for who knows what, they keep popping up, we won't have to rewrite this section of the bylaw, it'll be covered. Other than that, I personally like the idea. I think it could be a very good way to redevelop some of the property down there that has been derelict forever, and would be a good thing. But I'll turn it over to the board at this point for comments. Russ, do you have? You're smiling. I know you do.
Oh, I do, but I think I'd rather hear from
Okay,
the other board
Deb,
members first. Yeah.
I'm very excited about this. I'd like to see some of this rewritten. One of the things that was the special permit area I was particularly concerned with. And so I think we need to all do a little more homework and reconvene and then discuss.
Conceptually, I think it's a great idea. I also would like to digest this a little bit more to make sure I haven't missed anything or so forth, but I like the idea of something like that, like this type of a use being in that area of town.
No, I've been for it from the beginning, so I'm gonna just keep moving forward with it. It's a great idea.
Attorney Denver?
Okay. Well, I don't want to be Debbie Downer, but I am in favor. I think it's a wonderful project. I think this is badly needed by the town. But I was a little disappointed in the write-up. So I asked Robin to get us the zoning from your Cherry Hill property. Okay? Well, it was complicated.
Yes.
But perhaps what we might do is merge the two of them and have a little more concreteness on the types of retail that you want and other business uses. Do you really want a gas station as part of this project? Do you really want a funeral establishment? Do you really want a veterinarian hospital?
Yes.
Well, okay, we can differ
Special
on that.
permit?
That's okay.
We might, like I said. But I just didn't see this type of development that we really, I think, are seeing as a higher end, which I'm sure you want it to be, as a funeral establishment being in a high-end housing kind of development. I thought that was a little off base.
You should see the prices for the doggy daycare.
Yeah, yeah.
Oh, I know.
I
Doggy
could see
daycare might be-
that being
Well,
alluring to
you know,
the people living there. I can absolutely
Which might be
see that.
different than a veterinary
No,
hospital, yeah,
absolutely.
but I mean, they really got into, size of the stores. They really spelled out real specific, like ice cream stores, and I mean, they got really, really specific where this, you could almost drive a truck through. I think it was a little too big. So, I would love for you to kind of take some of this and merge it so that we don't have to redo, well, we could do some of it through the special permit process,
Yeah,
yeah.
right.
But I want to see a little more flavor
Okay.
on that. But other than that, it's still a great project. The sooner we can get it done, the better. But I think it needs,
And I apologize for chuckling. I am here
yeah.
because I am not in Cherry Hill at their planning meeting. And I spent the better part of the last 10 days
Yeah,
explaining to the person who's there in my stead
yeah.
that complicated ordinance.
Yeah, well, we don't want a racetrack. That's part of Cherry
Right, we
Hill
don't want a
that
racetrack.
that you can do. I mean, we're all
We don't
we're all in
want,
favor of stuff like
Type A
this.
retail uses over
Yeah.
50,000,
Yeah.
No,
And
so,
I guess the other concern that I still have, and I don't know how we can get our hands around it, and I'll just put it right out there. I mean, it's going to be higher-end, market-rate housing. And my concern, as I expressed the last time, is you build a lot of units, you sell them, and then something goes wrong. And I don't want it to ever be, I never want it to be something other than market-rate housing. So how we figure out to do that would be of concern to me.
okay.
So how we can do it is an issue.
And
And whether legally we can do it, it's an issue.
If you could
So-
just identify yourself for the tape, because when Donna...
I apologize. I'm John Tykina. I'm the Director of Real Estate Development for M&M Realty Partners, who is the partner with the property owner, M&A, at East Long Meadow.
Yeah, addressing that thing specifically, Russ, I think the way to do that is in Table 3.1, where we have list commercial and business uses. And we have a yes or a no. Well, we should have a column for MUOD and check off those
That we want?
think would be appropriate.
Good.
And that's what we need to work on before the next meeting, is to try to get that worked into the format of our zoning bylaw.
So then how do we address the issue of maintaining market rate forever on that property?
I don't know that we
I
can.
don't know that we can, because under state law, okay, you can create non-market rate housing if you want to, especially if your town does not have 10% affordable, and we certainly do not have 10% affordable.
And so could, in a special permit process, could there be language that if there's, so are you going to be able to buy some of the units?
Yes.
Okay. So in deed transfers, that it always maintained as market and not be flipped to other
We don't-
than?
This is not gonna be special permit. The only special permits will be for those things that require special permits in other zones. So the project itself will be subject to site plan review, but not special permit. So only if a restaurant goes in, then that particular restaurant would need a special permit. Okay, or massage parlor or something like that.
Anything, hair
Massage
salon,
therapy,
yeah.
excuse me. You know,
Well, that just continues to be an issue that I have a concern over. I'll just leave it at that. yeah.
okay.
So-
I mean, it occurs to me that if they're putting in market rate housing, that they don't have a big, I can't see why someone would have an incentive to change that. Okay, if you could rent it, if you can rent it out.
We didn't expect the recession of 2008, 9, or 10
I
either,
know,
you know,
I know.
so it's,
Yeah.
that's, and the housing market was what was the major impact on that, all of that.
But
so.
I don't think we saw a lot of existing housing being turned into affordable housing as a result of that.
In certain communities, we did, yeah,
Okay.
yeah, so.
But remember, there's state laws that
Mhm.
encourage that, and we can't go against state law. At this point, I'll open up to the floor if anyone has any comments or questions. Identify yourself, please.
Marilyn Richards, 342 Pinehurst. Attorney Denver, I agree with you.
You can just call me Russ.
I thank you. Russ, I agree with you. It's a bylaw can't legislate value.
Yeah, yeah.
And as a former planning board member, we crafted a bylaw that we thought would work in the reverse to create some more affordable housing in our town so that East Long Meadow residents could stay here. And the developer opted to go for high-end condos, which are outpriced for most of the people that live in our town. So we couldn't do it that way, and I don't see how we
Yeah.
can do it your way unless, if this project were under special permit, which I had a conversation with George Kingston about this. Our planned our planned business development is under special permit, and this is very similar, except we're adding residential to it. So why wouldn't this proposal be under special permit as well? Having said that, the bylaw doesn't differentiate the percentage of uses, 50% residential, 20% business. I mean, and I realize from a business standpoint, that's almost unheard of, because how can you tie the hands of the developer that you have to have this, this, and this? But what's in the proposal to allow the town to say, that's too much, those are too many apartments, that's too much residential use for what we feel our schools can handle, our, infrastructure can handle. So that's what I'm sort of struggling with. What can we as a town put in place so that we have the ability to say, that's too much? We already see a crisis with our kindergarten this year. We had an overrun of kindergarten applications, and that was unheard of, and yet we have to create some last minute changes because we have more kids going to school. So that's something that as a town resident, I'm concerned about. The second thing, go ahead.
Just briefly, I'll call your attention to section 5B of the bylaw proposal,
Okay.
which says that commercial and business uses shall not exceed 10% of the gross floor area. So 90% would be residential, 90% or more would be residential. The business and commercial would not exceed 10%,
So this is really a residential development.
with some businesses to make things available to the residents. In addition, there is a residential density in 7C, minimum of 12 units per acre, maximum of 20 units per acre. That would, with a minimum lot area of 20 acres, and I don't remember what size this is, with 40% building coverage, okay, well, with 20 acres, you'd have something like 160 units, okay, would be what would work out to be, I think. You may have different numbers than that.
Yeah, what's your proposal?
Dramatically different
Okay,
numbers.
much-
Again,
okay.
we've been crystal transparent
Yeah.
throughout.
Yeah.
The way it's currently proposed is it's a 40-acre site,
Okay,
and if 40-acre site
Right,
times
okay.
20 units an acre is 800 units.
Okay.
Now, we are not proposing near 800 units.
Yeah.
We're at, less than that.
yeah,
So, but that is the, you're constrained two ways. One, in overall density.
yeah,
Secondly, on height.
right,
So, we're sticking to, roughly the height of the existing building, 50
Yeah.
feet close to the road, and then a little taller, 60 feet, 400 feet back from the road, I believe is the proposal. And then the overall coverage.
Yeah.
So our overall coverage is 60%, which is right about what it is today. So they're kind of your parameters that you fit within. To say, so you have surface parking, you have garage parking.
right,
To make sure that, you can fit within, and then obviously you have the 10% restriction for the commercial.
Mhm.
But the young lady is entirely accurate when she says, it is predominantly a residential project.
right,
And the commercial that is there is commercial that, we treat, it's like the clubhouse. It's an amenity for the project, and it's an amenity for the community that becomes that type of place that, that restaurant that wants to be breakfast and lunch. That used to be a niche, and now apparently that's becoming a market. But, the person that wants to have breakfast and lunch because they want to be home with their kids at night, so I don't want a restaurant that's open at night, so I just do breakfast and lunch. So that you can, what we call buy those types of uses in to the community where, in a straight retail project, you can't afford to.
right.
So that, but it is predominantly a residential community.
Okay. And you had another comment?
Yeah, that brings up another issue about parking. Now, in the formula, or in the proposal, it talks about 1.5 spaces per unit, per residential unit. And the overall requirement of 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet of gross floor area for commercial business. Our planned business development used to be 5 spaces per 1,000. Then, when I was on the planning board, we did some research with area projects, and we went to town meeting and reduced it to 4.5 spaces per 1,000 square feet. Now we're dealing 4 spaces per 1,000 square feet, plus 1.5 spaces per unit. Now, I also did a tool for the planning board after I got off the board about similar projects and resident multi-housing, different types of offerings. This is not age restricted.
Right.
So if you have a luxury apartment with 2 master suites, you're going to have to assume that there is going to be an individual probably in each master suite, and that individual is going to have a vehicle. And I say this because I've read a lot of town bylaws around housing, and that it's more driven to bedrooms rather than units. And the average was 2 parking spaces per residential unit of the document that I had submitted to the planning board, and none of you are on it. I did this back in 2008. So that project was looking at zoning bylaws at the time, and my feeling is that if you're going to have a predominantly residential piece, and it's not age restricted, I think 1.5 spaces per unit is a little bit shy of what we probably would need.
Okay.
That's all I have.
Noted. Anyone else from the floor? Mr. Page, please.
Ralph Page. I just have a couple questions with regards to the actual overlay district. Reading this, it sounds like the overlay district entails the entire industrial garden park instead of just this one parcel within the industrial garden park. Would that be correct? Or is it just this 140-acre parcel that this is for?
My understanding is it could be anywhere in the industrial garden park. Okay, that you can't just say this is for one parcel because that's spot zoning. Okay. So this overlay district could be invoked anywhere in the industrial garden park. It gets invoked by getting a site plan approved for this. Once you have a site plan for a mixed-use development, then those parcels is where this would apply. That's my understanding. I need to look into that a little bit more. But if somebody wanted to come in and do this elsewhere in the industrial garden park, okay, let's say they wanted to tear down one of the other empty buildings that's there, we could consider that if the site plan was done the same way. One of the issues is that the minimum size of the lot would have to be 20 acres, which is a fair-sized lot. I don't know how many of the lots there are 20 acres or more. I would have to do some research on that.
Or 2 lots combined. to
Yeah,
make
you would have
20
to
acres.
buy up a couple lots and tear down a couple buildings.
I'm actually concerned with that answer then, because it sounds like we're taking the ability to put residential into the middle of our industrial complex. Would this not be wiser to take this one parcel and create a separate mixed-use development district? I know you're worried about spot zoning, but typically when you're looking at a 40-acre parcel, the AG's office looks at that as a larger facility as far as development. I know recently we did, well, it's been a while now, Mr. LaPlante's building, we did a zone change on that, and even though that was one parcel less than an acre, that wasn't considered spot zoning.
I recall that we were changing it to an adjacent zone.
No, actually, we created a commercial zone there, which was a buffer between the residential and the
Yeah,
business.
okay.
And this would be creating a brand-new zone, which that way there would basically be limited to this parcel unless they went to the town council and asked for another parcel to be changed to that.
I'm going to have to do some research and find out whether or not that's allowable. If it is, it would make possibly more sense to do it that way than as an overlay. You know, it would achieve the same thing from the proponent's point of view. But we need to check into that to find out whether or not we can legally do that. If we can, then that's something we can consider. I appreciate you bringing that up.
One of the other aspects that I have with an overlay district, if I read it correctly, the underlying district remains, which is Industrial Garden Park, which means even though they're hoping for a residential development, manufacturing could still be done within that. Is that not correct?
Not if we...
Because as of right, in Industrial Garden Park, you can do manufacturing, such as the gentleman that came in front of us with the 3D printer. We were very careful to make sure it was one, it was only a few small pieces. Who's to say he doesn't set up 7 of them and do a larger scale manufacturing, because that's an allowed district for it.
It's a good point, Ralph, and I think we need to look into that, and I appreciate you bringing it up.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the floor? Hearing none, I'll bring it back to the board and suggest that we continue this. We've got some good ideas that need to be looked into, and we certainly have some wording that we need to work on.
I just have 2.
Sure.
One question. So why did you limit yourself to 10% for business commercial uses?
We thought that was enough.
Okay.
We have a fair number now of these that are either in place or under construction, and that seems to be about the
Is that a right mix?
about the size that ends up. Like right now, I mean, probably 50,000 feet, which is not. I don't want to. I just said that like that's small, you know. But like that would be 5% of what this project could be. So but that's about the right amount. This is mom and it's a lot of mom and pop uses and
Okay.
and things like that end up being the commercial uses there. And like we say, the residents, I say, then they kind of become the extras in the public space. Where you like to go places that are a little busy, that have a little activity, And, you know, when you see something that's empty, you don't go there so that it stays empty. But even just from the residents, just their comings and goings, not even if they walk into the store, it's just their comings and goings of walking to their car or whatever, or getting picked up by Uber or whatever it's gonna be. That activity begets other activity. And they say, oh yeah, I'll go and meet somebody there for a cup of coffee and we'll sit on a bench and have a chat or whatever. And, you know, so that, it just seems that that's kind of the right amount, that the look and feel that seemed like was enough. We were, in conversations with staff, we're very concerned about traffic. You know, so, you know, the generator there is the retail, it is the commercial,
Yeah.
it's not the housing. You know, the housing is a very low traffic generator. You know, the system around it can accommodate, you know, whatever we'd be talking about. So the concern was to make sure that we had a commercial component, we had that activity, we had the mixture of uses that does all those smart growth things that we all like, but it was enough, it was small enough that it didn't have some of those negative impacts of traffic and things like that. We can keep the garbage manageable, we can, you know, loading can be managed, all those types of things that you need for a store, but you want to keep them in scale to someplace, you know, where somebody lives.
Okay, thanks.
We don't, and, you know, we don't have an objection to, we don't have an objection really to anything, but I would have, other than special permits, I don't like those. But, you know, so when you talk about what's a special permit, what's not, our preference would be to make sure that we get the right mix of uses, whether it's in this table or whatever. So we, you know, if we want to go down and say, I want an ice cream shop and a, you know, you know, and, you know, there's all sorts of different ways to do it. You know, I'm a planner, I'm like a real card-carrying planner. And I've done every ordinance under the sun. I've done retail, and I've done a list of 17 pages of retail uses. So there's all sorts of ways to do it. So we would rather work with the board and the town to come up with that right list and permit it, and say that's what we're going to allow. That's what we're going to allow to have here. And we understand. And I totally agree with the special permit. Okay, these things are special permits up. Great. Well, I like that consistency, that everybody, there's a consistent understanding of how it's done, so that restaurants understand, listen, you're a restaurant coming to East Longmeadow, you're going to get a special permit. You know, there's no, you know, it's kind of a level playing field for everybody, and everybody understands what they're up against. So, you know, that's kind of the work that we'd like to do. On parking, we think 4 is enough, if, particularly, you know, when we're going to share with residential and those types of things. But if the board and the bylaw is more comfortable at 4.5 or 5 for the commercial, again, the commercial's a very small element of it, but if that's the number that, you know, that gets people where you're comfortable, you know, where you say, hey, this is the right thing, great. You know, that's, because again, we share it. That's why 1.5 per unit for residential works, because we know we're going to share with the commercial, and you know, and there's that little extra, you know, it's like, you know, I wear a 46 suit instead of a 44, so I have a little extra room. You know, it's that little extra that you're comfortable. And, you know, so we want to work with the board and with the town on those types of things to get everybody comfortable.
Any other questions while we have them here? Hearing none, do I have a motion to continue the public hearing until at 6:30 at September 19th, 2017?
So moved.
Do I have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, so that'll be at 6:30, Donna, and on the 19th. That gives us half an hour to deal with Red Rock. Okay, good. Thank you much.
May I ask a procedural question, not a substantive question? So, anything we work with before then, when does that need to be done? Who's going to do that? Or
Well, we got to work on that because our director is not available right now. I will work with her as much as I can in terms of trying to get the language worked in, and also in trying to get the research that we need relative to what we can and cannot do in terms of zoning.
do you want to, again,
Yeah.
do you want to give yourself 2 more weeks and say we'll carry to the 3rd?
I'd rather schedule it for the 19th.
Very well.
And that way,
George, excuse me, I
yeah.
think you might be well served to take their suggestion, because I don't know how available Robin will be.
I understand that, yeah.
So,
Again, whatever, you know, you can come to the 19th and just carry it over there.
Yeah.
Again,
We're
Or
just
being
looking
that
to
the
see-
motion's already been made, maybe
Yeah.
we could just open and then close it
Very
on the
well.
19th to
Again,
allow us
we
more
just-
time. Would that
Yeah.
be acceptable?
Well,
You know,
let's do that. If
Logistically, we're looking at how to work and who to work with
Yeah.
as far as the language.
if we're
Or
not
continue, not close.
ready
excuse me.
on the 19th, okay, for whatever reason,
Mhm.
we can just open it and continue it then,
Okay.
Okay.
okay? And we'll let you know so you don't have to show up, okay? That,
and you can contact me.
you know, we
for
just,
that,
you know,
if Robin's not around.
again, we've been transparent to a fault and we'll stay that way.
Yeah.
And, you know, we also understand, you know, how it's all gonna work. So if
I
that
just-
time is prudent,
Yeah.
then we'll take it.
I mean, I like to try to keep things moving if we
Absolutely.
can. And then if
We're
we-
real estate developers, come on.
if we have, in addition, if we have additional questions, okay, and you can answer them in writing, let's say, we can read those into the record at that point.
Yep.
Okay, so that they're part of the record and we can work with them.
Mhm.
And then, if we need to continue it to the 3rd, we'll do that, and we'll finish it up then, okay? We just, again, sometimes these things go on for quite a long time, simply because they get complicated.
Mhm.
And I'd rather try to move it as much as we can and give us the opportunity to get as much information as we can as we go along, rather than just put a long time frame in between meetings and then we forget what we're talking about.
Okay, so, again, procedural through chair.
Yeah.
We're available, we're happy to email, happy to, and again, you said something about us not having to be there. Our office is at 330 Chestnut Street,
Okay,
okay? So treat us like our office is at 330 Chestnut Street.
fine.
And if you say, you know, one day, say, you know what, can you, Denise, and you say, oh, can you pop by town hall at 3 o'clock?
Yeah.
We'll pop by town hall at 3 o'clock.
Okay.
Our office is at 330 Chestnut Street, and this man owns the land, so,
Okay.
we're here in town.
Yeah.
So might I suggest, just to preserve your role as the decision makers, and you probably should, you know, minimize what you're dealing with the developers for, that I am available if you send things to Donna and I and Robin. That way you're sure that it won't get dropped, and I can be the person that, that communicates if we need to.
Yeah.
I'm available. for
Because
that.
I have a feeling that we're gonna want to ask an opinion of town attorney
And that's,
on the
I've
zoning
already got
issue.
that on board.
Okay, so, let's formulate that together and
Yes.
get it to Jim so that he can come back with what we need to know,
Great.
okay? Very good, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. It's a blight. Because they are not having fun in Cherry Hill, I promise.
Let me see you open Pandora's box.
Okay.
It's one question.
We
You
have,
45 minutes. It wasn't your fault.
A waiver for Stanton Financial Services.
That was a good question.
Thank you, Donna.
Long.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Tom Key. Owner's address is 265 Millbrook Drive, East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed here. Name of proposed business is Stanton Financial Services. Owner of business is Patty A. Stanton. Business owner's address is 32 Hickory Hill, West Springfield, Mass. Property address is 296 North Main Street, Suite 12, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property district is commercial, allowed use is yes. Proposed hours of operation are 9 to 7. Number of employees, including the owner, is 1. Summary of business is financial services. The application was signed and dated August 24th, 2017.
So this is an office, in an office building on North Main Street, it's an allowed use. Do you have a motion
I
to
will make a motion to
approve?
approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We have permanent skincare and makeup by Rhonda.
Thank you.
Request for waiver of site plan review. Property owner is Mary Beth Bergeron. Property owner address is 38 Harkness Ave, East Long Meadow, Mass. Phone numbers are listed. The name of the proposed business is Permanent Makeup Skincare by Rhoda. Owner of business is Rhoda Black. Business owner's address is 533 Summers Road, East Long Meadow, Mass. Property address is 38 Harkness Ave, East Long Meadow. Property district is business, it's an allowed use. Proposed hours of operation are Tuesday through Saturday, 9 to 6, by appointment only. Number of employees, including the owner, is just one, which is solely the owner. Date of last parking plan was 2010. Summary of business operation is permanent cosmetics, medical, permanent cosmetics, and skincare by appointment only. The application was signed and dated August 29th and August 20th, 2017.
So this is a business that's relocating from a building on North Main Street to Harkness. It's been approved in the past. The only thing I would recommend is that on the waiver, we specifically state that this is for medical permanent makeup only. This is not for recreational.
And that's what you guys did the last time.
Yeah, so it'd be the same as we did the last time.
I have it right there, the previously approved one.
Okay,
In case you want to look at it.
so the decision will be the same language.
With George's corrections, I make a motion to approve.
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. We now have two A&Rs for Maple Street. This is the medical buildings that are going in, where they cut down all the trees.
Mhm.
And they're two separate A&Rs because it's different owners of the two property lines that they're moving. So the first one we have is, and you want to open that up so people can see. They're moving the property line to coincide with the town line. Okay.
Interesting.
This is the line between the two properties, between the medical office building and the extended care place.
Still not even sure.
So they're moving, the new property line here between the two parcels is going to be right on the town line to create the two different parcels. And that
It's
way,
convenient.
it makes it nice and clean as to which town deals with which parcel.
Mhm.
Okay. Any questions on that one? Do I have any?
I will make a motion to approve.
Endorse.
Endorse, thank you for that correction. Parcel A, Maple Street.
Okay, do you have a second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay, the second one, we have to unroll it. What it's going to be is incorporating this parcel into the larger parcel. Okay, it's the same plan, it just shows that this particular parcel is being incorporated into the larger
Those
parcel.
lot lines go away.
So the lot line here will go away.
Make a motion to endorse Maple Street revised Parcel A.
Second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
No one was- Okay.
And George, do you need to sign those?
I will sign those here. You got
You got a Sharpie?
7 minutes, I got a Sharpie right here. I'm going to
Minutes?
suggest that we take a 7-minute recess, so I can sign things and people can get up and move. And then at 7 o'clock, we'll reconvene for 227 Shaker Road. Site plan review for AMG Retail LLC at 227 Shaker Road.
The Planning and Community Development Department of the Town of East Long Meadow will hold a public hearing on September 5th, 2017 at 7 o'clock in the training room at the fire station, 150 Summers Road, with regard to an amendment to the existing special permit and site plan review for the construction of a convenience store and gas station at 227 Shaker Road, submitted by AMG Retail 1 LLC. The hearing is to address the request for new permits under the new ownership's name. The project will remain the same with no changes other than the new ownership.
Okay, so this is a new special permit for the site because we have a new owner. And in spite of what the legal notice says, we're considering this to be a new special permit and therefore open to revision before being issued. So is someone here to speak to it? And come up and identify yourself and
Can I, Matt?
please do.
Ed Sabella, I represent the applicant, AMG. And you may recall that back in, I think it was May of 2016, Ellie Belcher applied for this board to have site plan review approved with conditions as well as a special permit. And at that time, you approved the site plan review with the conditions. And it's my understanding, with the exception, I think, of the retention basin, that all of those conditions were met in the construction of the site. And if not, obviously, we'll be here to address whatever conditions, other conditions that you think have not been addressed or that you want to impose. And secondly, we applied for a special permit because of the change of ownership as the operator of the facility. So with regard to both of those, we're here for your approval.
Okay. I think having looked at the old special permit, the only issue that I have is with the hours. And since that special permit was issued back in 16, whenever.
May 16th.
Yeah, over a year ago, we've gotten a lot of additional input from residents in the town regarding hours of gas stations. And I think in the new special permit, I would personally be opposed to 24-hour operation and would like to put into it reasonable but limited hours of operation. And that's my personal opinion. Ask the board their thoughts on this.
Being that well, first let me ask you, do you have the hours that you would like to be open?
Well, no.
You do not have that?
Not right now.
Okay, so right now, a gas station needs to close at midnight, or is it 1?
1 usually.
1 o'clock. And the earliest they can open would be 5?
Yeah.
Okay. So in order to move the special permit further, would we be willing to put down 5 a.m. to 1 a.m.
Well,
as the hours?
I would make that suggestion. Now, I don't know whether you can agree to that or you need to talk to
I'd have to talk to my client, but off the top of my head, I don't see that would be a problem.
Okay.
However, because the prior applicant wanted 24 hours, I'm not sure what the existing applicant is looking for right now.
I understand that, and as I say, I personally have received a lot of feedback from residents of the town since that special permit was issued, and a lot of opposition to going 24 hours for a number of reasons. And that's my personal opinion.
I do share that as well.
Well, maybe I'm not up that late, but can you tell me who stays open till 1 o'clock?
It's third shift at the industrial park.
It's
No,
allowed.
no.
It's an allowed use.
A lot of them do, because the restaurants don't close until.
But what gas station currently stays open till 1 o'clock in the morning?
I would have to look and see.
Yeah, that's not really for us.
And we just rejected a midnight request.
No, 24-hour request.
No.
24 hour, yeah,
Yeah,
okay,
24 hour
24,
request.
okay.
Yeah.
Well, I wouldn't be opposed to 1 o'clock.
Yeah.
No, I would be opposed to 1 o'clock.
Okay, you would like to see midnight?
I like to say 11 o'clock.
Yeah.
Yeah, so,
Well, he's
Yeah, I
gonna
know.
go
He's
back,
gonna have
so
to go
why
back. Yeah,
don't we
that's fine.
not, let them
That's fine.
decide what they're asking
So throw
for?
it back to your client, let them make us a proposal. okay?
Right.
You got it. Can we come back on for the next meeting?
Yes, you can. We can put you on, we can continue the special permit hearing until 6:45 on the 19th.
So
Okay.
could I ask that you distribute to the members of the board the last special permit that was granted?
Yeah, if you
So
do
we
that,
can see
Don.
what all the conditions were,
Yeah.
and we might want to revisit those as well, because I know at least 2 new board members weren't part of that
That's absolutely. good.
discussion.
Fair.
So, unless you have them in front of you and you can read them.
I don't.
So,
No, we're continuing.
I know we're going to continue, but
But
I'd like to see it before the next.
We're gonna continue- Yeah, Donna can easily send
Yes.
us a PDF of that, and that way you can read it at your leisure.
Yeah, that's
Okay,
fine.
which is important.
Yep.
So 6:45 on the 19th, I have a motion, do I have a second?
Mr. Chairman,
Yes.
it's a public hearing, isn't it? Shouldn't the public have a say on it?
We're gonna continue it.
Well, what if we're not here?
Okay, before we take a vote on continuation, let's take comments from the floor. Mr. Page?
I'd love to start. Ralph Page. I was actually the chairman when this went through, and I'm just curious as to why the board has decided to open a special permit rather than do a simple transfer. Under our bylaws, under special permit, a transfer is allowed when it's simply membership, owner to owner, and there's no additional changes. I'm not sure why the special permit, the entire process is being opened up when the applicant hasn't even asked for that.
I believe that the special permit, in fact, runs with the owner, okay, not with not with the site.
So this one specifically ran with the owner, it was put in under the owner? Because I know our bylaws
Yes.
simply says that as long as a percentage, a maximum percentage of building has been completed, that it can be done by a transfer.
Yeah, we just did one with Pride gas station. No change,
No. That
No
change-
go, no
Yeah.
go.
They don't, no, that was not a special permit, because they did not have a convenience store.
Oh, yes, yes, thank you, George.
That's something that can be thought about. I mean,
Well,
I know this is gonna be
I
continued.
discussed this with our director, and we can reopen the special permit when we revisit it. We can do this.
I understand completely, and I'm not quite sure why the last gas station that came in, why it wasn't done to add hours of operation in.
Well, we're dealing with this particular one now, okay? And let's keep it to the
To
subject
answer your
at hand.
question, under special permit, we have 2 gas stations in town. The one in the center, both of them in the center that are owned by the same person, are open till 10 o'clock at night.
Okay.
The one now on the city line has now been changed, and he is now staying open 24 hours a day.
We're starting to deal with that, okay?
Thank you.
I can't comment further because there's legalities involved. Any other comments from the floor, please? Down back first.
Gail Lauren, 226 Baker Road. And I just want to say regarding the times, I think it's great, if not 24/7, living across the street. And I like the idea of 10 o'clock, you know, because it's going to just be noisier for everything else around us closes. The hair shack and the exercise place and La Florentina and all. And I think that should too, because we're the ones that are going to hear it at night. And people hanging around is not good. You know, who wants somebody hanging around at 1 o'clock in the morning in the summer when your windows are open? It's okay. You know, in the winter you don't hear quite as much, but now you do. And
We don't even know what they're asking.
the earlier the better.
Take that under advisement. Thank you. Marilyn?
Hi, Marilyn Richards, 342 Pinehurst. First of all, the project turned out quite nice. It enhanced that corner, and you know, the actual structure was done very well, so I appreciate that. Having participated in the last several planning board meetings, we're discussing other gas station convenience store combinations open 24/7. I'm just here to speak on against 24/7. I would like to see a reasonable closing time and opening time the following morning so that the area around can get some rest. Thank you.
Thank you. And I just want to add for the record that when we do decide on hours, we're deciding on hours of operation. It's up to the town council as the licensing agency to decide on the hours for alcohol sales. That's not our purview.
I understand that.
So if we set certain hours, they have the ability to limit alcohol sales to less than those hours,
I
if they
understand
so
that.
choose.
I understand.
Okay, just want to make sure people understand we are not the licensing authority there, and that is completely, it would be a separate process.
Separate permit, it's a separate
Yeah.
permitting process.
Yeah. Any other comments from the floor, please?
Mary Ellen Fish, 259 Chestnut Street. I'd like to know what's gonna be done about the traffic down at that intersection. I don't see any changes. If you come out of the center of East Long Meadow and you wanna turn onto Chestnut Street, make a left-hand turn, when the factory's getting out, you can sit through 3 lights to get through there. Today, I see a semi come out from town and he wanted to make a right-hand turn. He has to wait until one of those lanes of traffic clears before he could actually turn. And there just isn't enough of room there to handle all the traffic that's going on.
Thank you for your comments. We had this discussion with DPW when we first issued the special permit and site plan for this place, and they are looking at ways to improve that intersection. I don't know what the status of that is. They're well aware of the fact that that intersection is an issue with or without the gas station. You know, right now, the traffic light is not optimally set up. You have a left-hand turn from two directions and not from the other two. And you know, they have put another lane in for right-hand turns down there to try to reduce the backup. But again, I'm not a traffic engineer. I know DPW is very well aware of that situation, and I can't say what they're going to do or when, but they know that that's an issue. And we have addressed some of those issues with the site plan in terms of which way people can turn exiting the station, and they did install the additional crossing lights for the rail trail. So that's there and in place already. So that's another safety issue that the developers have actually put in there. So that's good. Any other comments from the floor, please?
Glenfish, 259 Chestnut. Since this is a brand new station with the latest and the greatest, I'm unclear as to whether or not a backup generator system was ever required or is installed in the equipment so that this station at least could stay open after a major disaster in the area, because I don't know of any other stations that in the area that have backup generators, and when the main power system goes out, everybody's out. I'm wondering if this station maybe could have at least a supportive generator, enough to keep one pump going and some lights and, you know, just minimal. But it's important to me that last time the only place you get gas was on Riverdale Road from East Long Meadow, and that's a long run and miles of cars. So it's not that big a deal financially to house some kind of a backup generator. I'm big on backup power, so you can get I have my own, believe me.
We're coming to your house.
Again, in fact, I probably got enough generator to run that station from my house.
That's again for the developer to decide whether they want to do that, and it's a business decision on their part. We are not in a position to require them to do that, but I think that it's something that they would like to hear your thoughts on that, so you might want to pass that along. I don't know whether they plan on doing it or not.
I'll write it down.
Please do. You know, again, if we do have a power failure, it probably will at some point in the future, they could get a lot of business that way. But appreciate your comment on that. And any other comments from the floor? Hearing none, we have a motion made and seconded to continue this to the 19th at 6:45. All in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Okay. Now, as to the site plan, what were changes in the site plan?
There were none, no change, as a matter of fact.
I thought there was a fence added.
No, I don't think so, but if you, is that on the retention? On the?
Yeah.
Yes, yes, I apologize, yeah,
Okay.
yes.
It just says to be fenced in, it's
Yes,
not shown
that's-
on the plan yet.
Yes, but we will do that, obviously.
Okay, but it's not shown on the plan, it should be shown on the
I'll
plan.
get you a revised plan.
So, yeah, so for the continuation, if you could have that shown on the
Yep.
plan, because we really want to have everything
Fence on
there,
the
because
retention
5
basin,
years
you
from
got
now,
it.
none of us will be here, and somebody will look and go, where's the fence?
You got it.
Okay, so, okay, any other business before the board at this point? Donna, we got any more minutes out yet?
Well,
We've got May
George.
2nd still that you didn't make, and
Here's a
May
question.
26th,
George.
excuse
Here's
me,
a
and then I
question.
sent
Oh,
you
yeah.
20th. So-
Please, yeah.
Do you want the revised plan and a letter or something with the hours ahead of time, or do you want me to just bring them for the next
It'd
meeting?
be great if you could do it ahead of time.
Who
Okay.
should,
Send it to
planning?
the planning office,
Yep.
and we'll make sure that
Okay,
Denise gets a copy of it, and that it's distributed to the
all right,
members.
thank you.
Okay,
My-
that-
Miles,
it's much better if we can look at it in advance, so that
I understand, that's why I asked. Okay, am I all set?
you're all set.
Thank you. Take care. Have a nice night.
I just have the May 2nd, May 16th, and June 20th. I'm not sure if
I
you
read
guys
the
were able to
second, the
look at
June
them.
20th, I
No.
had what?
You haven't looked at them yet? How about the May 2nd and May, those have been floating around a while.
Um,
I'm
I
not
think
sure if you
that
had a chance to look at those.
those have been, I think,
Did you approve it? I'm sorry.
those have been reviewed.
Yeah,
Okay.
Okay, let, have a motion to approve the minutes of May 2nd.
so moved.
Do I have a second?
Anything else, please?
Have a second.
I'll second it.
Um,
Yeah, they weren't.
All those in favor, we have two abstentions because you weren't here.
Right.
Right.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Okay. May 16th, you read those? You
I
had
did.
the corrections
Yep,
in?
so moved.
Do I have a second for May 16th?
It's your turn.
I'll second that.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.
Two abstentions again. We don't have, I don't think we've looked at June 20th
Okay.
I have
yet.
not.
Alrighty. I'll be sending the rest to you then, so.
Any other business before the board? Hearing none, do I have a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Second?
Second.
All those in favor?
Aye.
Aye.